Good morning. Wait, it's not even morning there. What time is it there in
Here
California?
in California, it's 1:20 p.m.
Oh, 1:20. So it's just early afternoon. Well, thank you for joining me today. This is Get It Got It Good on WBGR Health and Wellness Channel, as well as Total Entertainment Radio. We air at 11:30 a.m. on Wednesdays on WBGR and 6 p.m. every weeknight on Total Entertainment Radio. And today we actually have Clarence Wooten, which I know very well, you guys. This is my big cousin. Who's
Yes,
way out. Where are you? Are you in Silicon Valley?
I'm in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley covers the entire San Francisco Bay Area. So I'm in the East Bay. I'm in Oakland now. I was in Palo Alto for 8 years before this.
Yeah, see, it's just cost of living out there is tremendous.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. That's a whole nother show.
So wait, um, are you guys like closed down the whole area, the whole no in or
Yeah,
out?
we were one of the first to close down. I don't know what's happening at the airports, but the governor here, Gavin Newsom, pretty much mandated that everybody should really stay in, and it's been at least almost 3 weeks since that first happened, and so that's the reason why it's not like New York out here.
Yeah, because you guys took fast action early.
Yeah, because the state of Washington and Seattle is right above us, and they were the first ones to get hit in this country. And so I think we just saw the writing on the wall, and so California is like been shut down for a minute.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have like 60, 80, 100,000 cases, but I think we only have. Actually, we might still. I'm confused. I don't know. I look at these numbers all the time. They're changing so fast. It's crazy. I just
I
know that
know.
I'm keeping my butt at home.
I know. Stay at home is the safest place to be. Essential workers, of course, have to go out and be on the front line, nurses, doctors, transportation specialists, things like that. Only thing you can do is really take precautions. I know here in Maryland, the numbers are going up rapidly. So we have now been locked down for what, like 24 hours or a day?
Yeah.
I think it happened yesterday.
Yep.
But I'm not really worried about it. I am enjoying being home because I run a lot. And so as a business owner, you're used to running about and going to meetings and things. So how are you adjusting and transitioning?
I hate to like promote Zoom, but that's exactly what's happening. I've been doing more Zoom meetings than I ever have in the past, and I feel like I'm seeing more people now than I saw because everybody's like stationary. So people are
It
anxious to
is.
see other faces. So as a result, people are scheduling Zoom meetings left and right.
Exactly. I think it's a great opportunity for business people because everybody is a captive audience right now. Also, because you don't have to worry about that drive time, you can fit more in a day.
Totally, totally.
So, business owner, what do you do exactly?
Business owner. Wow. You
Serial
know,
entrepreneur. You're the first person I know who coined that I've heard it from, serial entrepreneurship. So you've started a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Funny thing is, I was first called that in 2000. Entrepreneur Magazine did a story about one of my tech startups, and the fact that I had done other tech startups prior to that, they called me a serial entrepreneur. So that kind of stuck and has been part of my bio ever since 2000. But a little about me. I've been a serial internet entrepreneur. So I don't build any kind of small business. I focus on building internet companies, which I've been doing. I hate to say it, but since the mid to late 90s.
Mhm.
If you want me to cover the whole story, the first internet company I created was called imagecafe.com. And this was 1997, 98. And this
I
is when
remember that.
Yeah, this was actually when people were just trying to get online. They were just trying to get a website, and I didn't want to just design one website at a time and get paid a couple $100 from a small business. So my partner and I, we decided to build the world's first online superstore of ready-made websites to go. So instead of having somebody build a website for you, you would just go to Image Cafe, and we had thousands of ready-made website templates that you could purchase and customize. And that took off like a rocket. And just before the internet bubble burst in 2000, in late 1999, we were acquired by Network Solutions. Now, Network Solutions was the GoDaddy of that time. They had a monopoly on .com names. And since they were selling everybody in the world a .com name, they wanted to be able to quickly enable you to add a website to your shopping cart, which made sense. You know, a .com name is like a building permit, and your
Mm-hmm.
website is a building. And so it was a perfect fit. They acquired the company, and it was, of course, a life-changing event for me because, you know, we certainly didn't grow up rich.
Yeah, no.
But that was game changing. And since then, I've been, you know, I've built several other internet companies. I had another one that was acquired by a public company back in 2018 called Progressly. It was acquired by Box. And yeah, and I've been out here in the Bay Area, which is kind of Hollywood for the internet industry. It's
Mm-hmm.
where most of the deals get done and most of the big tech companies are. So I felt like I needed to be out here. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
So acquired, so brought. How does that actually work? Because a lot of people start businesses and they don't have an exit strategy. But you started and sold, or started and been acquired. What is the difference? Is there any difference?
There's a difference. I think it's one thing to sell something, right? It's another thing to be acquired. So selling something is like when you sell your house. You put a sign on the front yard, and you like, this house is for sale, and then, you know, people bid for your house. When you're acquired, is like somebody knocking on your front door saying, we want to own you, we want to buy your house, and it's not for sale. And so you get a lot more when your company is acquired, because, you know, these are bigger companies just making overtures because they see a strategic fit, and the price is a lot higher, of course, when you're not for sale. And so to get you to move out of your house when it's not for sale, somebody's going to have to offer you a premium. That's the
So is
best
it
way I can explain it.
considered like a hostile takeover? Is that the same thing?
No, a hostile takeover can't happen with a private company.
Okay.
That can only happen with a company whose stock is publicly traded, where someone can buy the stock, buy enough of the stock, have a controlling interest.
Yep. Sorry. See the benefits of working from home. The dog. Okay. So then Progressly was acquired. You decided that Maryland wasn't the best spot to be because the Valley is more like Hollywood for tech. So once you got out there, what was next? Because that's a whole new field, a whole new world, I should say.
Yeah. So, you know, when I came, when I now I had been coming to the Valley going back to the late '90s, early 2000s on business trips constantly, because that's what happens when you're an internet entrepreneur and you're doing business with other big internet companies. They're all out here. But I was wondering, I had gotten to that point in my career where I was wondering, how much more successful could I be if I moved to Hollywood? You know, because being a tech entrepreneur is a lot like being an actor, right? You can be an actor and live anywhere in this country, but you're not going to become Denzel Washington or Tom Cruise unless you move your ass to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon my French, right? So I kind of came to that decision about 10 years ago and decided it was now or never. So I moved out here. I had a company called groupsite.com at the time that had, you know, it had gotten to profitability. We didn't raise a ton of money for it, and it was doing pretty well. But I was anxious to do that next thing, and so I launched a company called Arrived when I first got here.
Mm-hmm.
We launched at TechCrunch Disrupt, which is a big tech conference. And yeah, and I moved my team to Palo Alto, which is really the birthplace of Silicon Valley. HP started in the garage in Palo Alto. Stanford University is in Palo Alto. It's you know, right here in the Bay Area, and so it's known as the birthplace of Silicon Valley. And yeah, so unfortunately though, Arrive didn't make it because we were unsuccessful at raising our Series A. And my team ended up taking other jobs because, as you mentioned earlier, it's pretty expensive to be out here. So that was a down point, but you know, those are the points where you learn. You know, when you're down as an entrepreneur because something didn't work or you ran out of cash, you know, that's when you learn your hardest lessons so that you don't repeat those same mistakes. So on the heels of Arrive not working, I started Progressly, and I guess I should really explain what Progressly is or was. Progressly. We turn business processes into visual, repeatable workflows in the cloud. So I describe it as we were Pinterest for processes. So big companies or companies in general, they're typically process oriented. You know, once they start to grow, they put processes in place for people to follow for completing certain tasks.
Yeah.
And normally processes are boring checklists, but progressively we made them visual, like a Pinterest, like a
Mm.
visual flow chart that outlined all the steps with all the instructions, and you could just drag your completed work into a box, and it would alert the person who was next in line for that process that it was their turn to do their part.
Mm.
And Box, which is a big company out here in the cloud storage space, they loved it. They're a publicly traded company, so they acquired it, and that acquisition took place in 2018.
So how do you know as an entrepreneur when to say when? Because a lot of people can't let go of their babies. It's like, I can't let go, I can't let it die. I know I can try this one more thing, but you seem to be able to start, move on, start, move on, grow it, move on. How do you know when is when?
You know, that's a tough question, but everybody has a price, right? So, and I think if you have a company that's growing like a rocket ship, like super fast, making money super fast, you don't want to sell while that rocket ship is still ascending. But if you know your company is growing, but there are other competitors, there are other threats that could stop its growth, and then your company becomes worth a whole lot less, then
You
you
get
got to
out while the
consider
getting is good.
acquisition. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. And so, fortunately, going back to my Image Cafe days, I got out while the getting was good because it was the economic downturn for
Mm-hmm.
.coms literally 6 months later. And had I not sold the company to Network Solutions in November of '99, 6 months later, it would have been worth a whole lot less, and I might not have been able to get a deal. So I guess that's kind of in my DNA because I timed it right the first time. And there's a saying that goes, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered.
Uh-huh.
So, you can stick around and try and be a hog, but, you could also end up losing it all. And
Yeah,
so,
truly.
that's it. And no one ever went broke selling too soon. Those are
Yeah.
two of my favorite things.
No one ever does go broke selling too soon. You make some money and you get some, and then you just walk away happy and to go another day. Right?
That's it. That's it. Now, I think now though, I would be more hesitant to sell early because, I've hit some home runs, but, I'd love to hit a grand slam. And
Yeah.
that only happens when you let it ride.
Okay, so what's your game plan now? Are you looking to build and ride it out and nurture a company now for the long run?
Well, I guess because of my experience in starting tech companies and all the relationships I've built up over the last 20 plus years, um, I know that I'm usually the visionary. I'm the creative person. I'm the person who is going to, create the company. And I use this analogy. I'm going to go from 0 to 35,000 feet. I can get the plane off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of flying the plane, I like to put pilots in place because the process of going from 0 to airborne is way different than flying. Flying it
Indeed.
to me is not as exciting as getting it off the ground, which is the hard part. And that's the part you're rewarded for because you are creating that plane and getting it up in the air. That's where the value is created. So I want to be able to get as many planes off the ground as possible and then put capable pilots in place to fly those planes. And then when it's time to land or exit those planes, I'm there to help land them. And
Yeah.
I'll take a board seat while those planes are in the air. So to do that, facilitate that, I've been working on something called Revitalized Ventures, which is a venture studio. And what we do is we create companies, but we create a specific type of company. And then we spin them out and put teams in place to run them once those planes are airborne.
Okay. So do you have mentor or mentees that come and work with you and learn this process? How does that work
I
as
mean, I
far as
wouldn't,
building it?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say mentees, but I would say, but yeah, it's definitely, business is a team sport. So we
Mm-hmm.
have, other talented people who are talented at what they do, whether that's design, whether it's programming, whether that's growth, marketing, who are part of the team, and we recruit for each individual company. And we do 3 startups a year, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of our business model, and we stick to what's called SaaS and marketplace startups. So we wouldn't create any type of business. We create software businesses that are subscription oriented, like Zoom, for example, would be a SaaS business. And we do marketplace business models as well. So a marketplace would be something like Uber, for example, would be a marketplace, because on one side you have drivers, on the other side of the marketplace you have riders. And so we focus on those 2 types of business models when we're creating tech companies.
So how do you find these 3 that you do a year? Do they come to you? Do you go to them? Do you research them out? Like, how does that work?
No, well, so a venture studio is not like, a venture capital firm that
Mhm.
finds companies and writes checks. A venture studio creates companies in-house and then writes checks to fuel their own companies. So think Disney as a movie studio,
Okay.
right? So if you as an individual went and you decided you were going to do an animated film, yeah, you could do it as an independent film, hire those animators, or you could go and pitch Disney on your idea and concept, and maybe Disney will do it with you. And when Disney does it, are you still there?
Yeah, you
It
were
looks like you
breaking up
froze
for a
on me.
second. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, yeah. So when Disney does it, they're going to bring all kinds of resources to the table, right? So we're like a film studio that creates a specific type of film. Disney creates family and animated movies, but we are a venture studio. We create a specific type of tech startup,
Hmm.
right? So SaaS and marketplace, but we do them in house. But sometimes we partner with entrepreneurs that might have a vision for a great startup idea, but they don't necessarily have the experience, the infrastructure, or the capital to get it off the ground. So I would say a third of our businesses, a third to half, we come internally from the partners in our studio, and then the other third, 2/3 to half, come from us partnering with other entrepreneurs.
So you have babies or you adopt babies.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. Let's keep it going. Yeah, we either adopting a baby or we're birthing it. Totally.
Right?
But they're all infants. We're
Yeah.
not adopting a baby that's a toddler. We're really really early.
Oh yeah, newbies, newborns. Okay,
Newborn. That's it.
understand that. And I do know that there's a different set of skills or that's needed to go from 0 to that certain level, and then a different set that's needed to maintain or that bell curve for the growth
For
of a
scale.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So
That's exactly
what are
right.
some of the things that you think a person would need in order to take a baby business and grow it to a point where it could be acquired or stable out?
Yeah. First off, I think the skills are different. So in the tech world, there's like 5 phases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are variations on this, but these are the phases that I've created. Um, Conceptualize is the first phase. Launch is the second phase. Iterate is the third and probably hardest phase. Scale and then exit. So you
Mm-hmm.
conceptualize, launch, iterate, scale, and exit.
Okay.
And um, what we specialize in is conceptualizing, launching, and iterating. Because so you always end up iterating, because very rarely does any business plan survive first contact with customers. Meaning, you have a hypothesis on how somebody's going to use your software, and are they going to do certain things required to make the software work and turn into revenue dollars. But once you put it out there initially, it doesn't always work that way. So you end up having to really watch your customers closely and constantly iterate to make changes until you get to what's called product market fit.
Mm-hmm.
And getting the product market fit is the hardest thing. It usually takes 2 to 3 times longer to get the product market fit than it took to build the actual product. This is when we're talking about tech and software.
Yeah, yeah.
Different other businesses are a little different story. And so that's the hard part. But once you have product market fit, and you have product market fit because you see customers adopting and paying. Product market fit, somebody once said, is like porn. You know it when you see it. And so
Yeah.
you can get real excited about it, right?
Okay.
And and so when you have that, then it's time to scale, because
Okay.
then you can start pouring money into it to market and promote it, because you know that when you're filling that bucket up with customers, or I'm gonna use a bucket water analogy, there are not a lot of holes in that bucket where those customers are going to spill out before they turn into money.
Mm-hmm.
So product market fit is the process of patching up those holes in your leaky bucket so that it holds water. And so when
So
you throw
going back,
marketing dollars at it,
yeah, going back,
go ahead.
reevaluating, adjusting, making changes, trying it again. So do you guys use test markets so that way you don't contaminate your name and your brand before it gets out there? Like, how does that work?
No, no, no. I mean, it's not test markets. You're basically consumers. You're using real data, real
Okay.
user data. Like, your market, you're putting a little bit into marketing, but you're not flooding your marketing yet, just to drive different customers. And you see what those customers do, and then you analyze them as what's called a cohort. So you can see, and you do what's called cohort analysis. So you see what those customers do, and let's say only 20% of the customers stuck around.
Mm-hmm.
You start to talk to those customers to find out, and the customers that you lost, to find out, okay, what was the problem? What do we need to change in the software? And then you make those changes, and then you bring in the next cohort, and you see, oh, 40% of those customers stuck around. And you want to get it to the point where, a big chunk of your customers are sticking around and becoming paying customers. And so you're analyzing these cohorts.
So research and development, basically.
Yes, it's R&D, and that's the reason why like analytics is so big and data science is really, really big in tech these days. Because a lot of times you might not be talking to customers. You might be looking at the clicks in terms of, what they're doing from the time they sign up to the time they leave, or maybe they're not, why they aren't completing the full credit card
Mm-hmm.
transaction. So a lot of this stuff is data driven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
No, you had pause for a second. So yeah, data driven, so you can see each phase of the process. Like they clicked all the way to 50% completion. Why did they stop there? Was it something wrong with the page? Was there something wrong with the wording? Did the price stop them and therefore they backed off? Like what was the deal?
bingo,
Yeah,
bingo.
okay.
Bingo. Or did you not have the right features? Did they bail out because the product didn't do what they thought it would do? And oh, by the way, what is their use case? Are they using the product like you've advertised it, or are they using it for something else? Because maybe something else is your real market, right? And
Yeah.
so maybe you need to tailor the product to speak to those people more clearly.
Hmm. So for the up and comers, because I have a few millennials that like, early 20s, late teens, that like the tech industry. What would your advice be to a baby that's going into the field? Would it be a certain area, a certain product, or what? Certain area of study?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're all kinds of tech. I mean, they're all aspects to tech, right? So
Mm-hmm.
most people think to be in the tech industry, you got to be a programmer. That's not true, right? I'm not a programmer. I'm considered, I guess, based on my skill set, although I'm an entrepreneur, I'm considered a product person. So a person who goes into product is kind of 1/3 design focused and they have empathy for the customer, and they're thinking about user experience, like what should the product look like and function like and what features need to be there. 1/3 is technical. Even though I don't write code, I'm technical enough to understand how to manage programmers, and I know the various the tech.
I'm sorry, you froze.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, no, I know the various aspects of the tech stack, so I can choose the right people to hire in tech roles. And then the last third is business. I understand the business problem that we're trying to solve. And so when you bring all three of those things together like a Venn diagram, the piece that overlaps, that's the product person you like the CEO of the product. You decide which features go into the product, but more importantly, what features don't go into the product, because you don't want it to become confusing and just full of stuff that's not needed, right? So that's one aspect of tech. You can be a product person, you can go into UI, UX, and design, or you can become a programmer, or you can go into growth and analytics, all these different aspects.
So what exactly did you study? I just remember as like an elementary schooler, you tinkering with these machines all day and all night. I don't know exactly. And then you went to school for like 50,000 different things to me from being little. But what exactly did you go to school and study then?
Yeah. Well, first off, I was playing video games. I wasn't tinkering with machines. Let's be real about it. Looking back, I wasn't like opening up computers. I'm not that cat. Um, but no, I was playing video games, and so I like I used a computer to play video games because I could copy diskettes back in those days. I didn't have to pay for game cartridges, which I couldn't afford, and so I started there. But I went to college originally for architecture. I thought I was going to be an architect, and that's what I was passionate about. And then I learned, I had experience with computers, so I got into CAD, which is computer aided design. That's basically drafting on a computer, and I became really good at that. And then that led me to get into computer animation because I would do these animated 3D models like you see on HGTV all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
back in the early 90s when I was in college, that was like hard to do, and you didn't see a lot of that. And so that was actually my first company, Envision Designs. I did animated 3D models of architectural buildings. And so then I became good at the animation and realized I didn't just have to use it for architecture. I could use it to create software, educational software. And so my partner and I, we started a company called Metamorphosis Interactive Studios, and we did CD-ROM edutainment software. And I was the computer animator, he was the graphic guy, and we just hired a bunch of programmers. So it was an evolution. Then the bottom fell out of the CD-ROM market, and something was emerging called these things called websites. So we pivoted and started designing websites for business owners, as a service. And that was fine, but you can't make money while you're sleeping when you run a service. You need a
Yeah.
product for that. And
Yeah.
that's when we came up with the idea for Image Cafe and became the world's first superstore of ready-made websites to go. So that's kind of my early evolution.
But see, tech to me is so fast. It moves so fast. So how do you keep up in a world that just seeing you develop something new, it then changed again?
Well, that if that's your industry, it's your responsibility to stay well read, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. There was a period where I left tech. After selling Image Cafe to Network Solutions, I had the whole bubble fell out of bottom fell out of the .com space in the early 2000s. I started doing other types of businesses. Remember the keyring reader and some other stuff. We won't talk about that. And so I left tech.
Wait, what
Right.
about the thing you guys had a whole bunch of trucks for? What was that?
Yeah, that was Wirespan. That
I
was a
see.
completely different business, right? And so I spent probably from 2001 to 2004 not in the internet space. And when I came back, it was because I was reading about this new phenomenon called blogging. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, the internet's changed. You can now build a business without you don't have to raise money to air a commercial during the Super Bowl to make somebody aware of your website. You can just start blogging and people will find you. And then social started to come about. And so I became intrigued by the internet again. And I had some catch up to do. And I told myself I was never going to get so far out of it that I needed to catch up again. So I've just been in it.
Mm. So just like with any industry or anybody who's serious about what they do, you're right. You have to continually stay up to the latest thing. Even in the dance world, there's new dances and tricks and crap coming out all of the time. Now,
Yep.
because I'm older, I can't necessarily do all of them. But it's just about knowing the newer up and comers and connecting with them and hiring the right people who can then teach your staff or your teachers or your techies, right?
Yeah.
Cool
No, that's
beans.
it. In any industry, you got to stay on top of it.
So okay, so right now you're
So
working
I,
on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can do a show and tell now.
Yeah,
I know most of your listeners are listeners and they aren't able to see it, but if they check out your YouTube channel, correct?
YouTube
Um,
channel. So if they follow me on Get It Got It Good G3 on YouTube, they can find it. Also on Graham, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Still Get It Got It Good G3. And it will also air on WBGR Network, so you guys can see it there. So either way, they'll be able to see it. But if they listen to it now, get intrigued, definitely follow us there.
yeah, so I think you have to give me host control so I can share my screen.
I sure will. So this platform, I know it feels really weird um, promoting a company that I don't get any payback for. But
Yeah,
it's
no,
it's good.
it is what it is. We're in this time right now where, we got to utilize it. Um, um, all right. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and let's see here. Um, got a lot going on this screen. Actually, let's see.
You keep a lot of stuff open like I do. Say, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, I keep a ton of stuff open, too much stuff open. All
What
right.
do
Yeah.
you use as a person in the tech field? Do you use a Mac, PC, both?
Mac all day.
Okay.
Anybody using a PC is an amateur. I'm sorry, but that's just the
In the
case.
tech field. Well, I'm not a techie, so hey, guess what? I just need to be able to point, click, and go.
Yeah, yeah. I can talk about Revitalized Ventures quick first.
Okay.
I won't do a lot because that's the setup for everything else. As I mentioned, Revitalize is a venture studio. Um, um, we've kind of been in stealth, so I haven't announced this broadly, but I guess I have now since you have such a big, large
Yay!
audience. Yeah, so we're a venture studio. I shared already a little bit about my background, so I won't go into that. But really, I educate people with this pitch deck on what a venture studio is. We bring capital, talent, and connections. There have been other tech companies that have emerged from venture studios. Twitter, for example, came out of a venture studio here in the Bay Area called Obvious Ventures. Dollar Shave Club came out of a venture studio in LA called Science, and there's been others. So it's not totally a new thing. Um, these are some of the partners involved in the leadership of the studio. Andre and I go way back to the Image Cafe days. Some advisors, and so that's basically what I talked a little bit about what we're creating. We do 3 startups a year. So over the first portfolio, we're going to do 15 startups over the course of a 5-year period. We focus on SaaS and marketplace type businesses. This is a little bit about our process, but I'm going to leave this and I'm going to jump and talk about some of the companies in Revitalized Venture Studio.
Okay.
One of the first companies that we've created is called Steamroll. This is in that iterate phase that I talked about. Steamroll it's targeted at students. I would say middle school through grad school, right when you're trying to figure out who you want to be when you grow up and how to get there. You would use the Steamroll app. It's a mobile app, kind of like the dating app Tinder, but it's about finding, instead of finding dates, you find role models. We show you role models that match your interests, gender, and ethnicity, because you can't be what you can't see. And we make it easy for you to discover who they are and how they got to where they are, because each of the role models record these videos of them talking about their career journey. And then what we do is we take each role model's skills and we put them in a checklist called a roadmap, where each skill links to an online class at like Udemy or Coursera. So if you decide you want to be like one of the role models, you can immediately follow them and start to learn their skills. And as you learn these skills, you come back into the app and you check off that you know them now. And companies are watching and they reach out to you and recruit you for internships and job interviews. And so that's what we're doing with Steamroll. It's a 2-sided marketplace. On one side, we have role models. On the other side, we have students. And so it's pretty straightforward. So we're excited about Steamroll. Additionally, one of the companies that we're doing a relaunch around is called, let me see if I can move some things around here, is GroupSite. Now, GroupSite is a company that's been around. I founded GroupSite quite some time ago, but it really needed a refresh. So we pulled it into the studio and we're getting ready to relaunch it. Now, GroupSite is perfect specifically for what's happening right now, given everybody's working from home and they have to collaborate and build online communities. And so that's what GroupSite is. We make it easy for any group to communicate, collaborate, and network. We have a bunch of different features baked into the product. This is what GroupSite looks like, or this is the upcoming version that's getting ready to be released. And so you can create these private groups, you brand them, you can have discussions inside of your group site so that everybody can continue to communicate that way. You have an integrated calendar so that if you need to plan events and showcase them in your group site, you have a calendar where you can plan events and collect RSVPs. You can share files like you would on Dropbox or Box or Google Drive that are only visible to your group members. You can post videos and photos and create galleries from events that maybe you've had offline and share them with the group. You can blog. And again, this is all private just for your group. You have profiles of all the other members of your group, and you can click through and kind of like LinkedIn and learn their stories, etc. And you can create subgroups, which are like miniature group sites within group sites. And if you're a manager of the group site, you can customize it. You can customize the appearance and choose the color scheme that you want your group to have, what kind of look and feel. And so that's group site. So and so most of our groups are organizations or companies that want to create an intranet, or membership organizations that want to keep their members connected, or boards and committees that want to collaborate and share information. And it's a subscription product, a SaaS subscription product that's basically $99 per month, no matter how big your group is. And so we have others, that I could go into. We are working on another startup called NamePress. I'll show you a promo video. NamePress is AI for personalization. So let me play this video real quick. Let's see, got a lot going on here. Hopefully the bandwidth cooperates.
We don't need to sell you on personalization, because personalization sells itself. While everything else is evolving, the technology to personalize products has been stalled out. Until now. NamePress is next-gen personalization. Traditional personalization just slaps names on top of a design. Our proprietary art intelligence technology actually incorporates personalization directly into high-quality art created by award-winning artists. Pick a category from a huge library of categories and designs. Just type in your name, select your artwork, and it will instantly appear as part of the art. Once you have your customized design, choose your premium product to be personalized. Now, because of NamePress, you get this instead of that. And with the NamePress API, the possibilities are endless with one simple integration. Next-gen personalization is here. Plug into the power of NamePress.
So yeah, so group site, NamePress, Steamroll, those are the initial 3. And maybe since I showed one video, I'll show one more. I'll show group sites sizzle reel for the upcoming group site.
Okay, cool.
And then we should be able to wrap up. So let me run through this real quick.
Okay.
So there you go. Show and tell is over.
Cool. So I was like trying not to snap the music, but it is very catchy. And there's a lot to be done with, especially like group sites and especially when you're working with people from all over the place. It is a feature that we are looking for right now. So if somebody wanted to work with you or work with one of your platforms and things, how would they go about finding it? Do you Google the different things if you wanted to like do a membership, or how would they find you and the other businesses?
Yeah. I mean, group site is pretty simple. You go to
Mhm.
groupsite.com, you
Yep.
will find it. As I mentioned, the version I just shared is getting ready to come out. This is group site 3.0. And same with Steamroll. Steamroll is STEAM, which is like STEM, but with the arts. And
Mhm.
roll is enroll model, ROLE. You can go to steamroll.org, or you can just type Steamroll in the App Store and download the app for your iOS, your iPhone. And NamePress is getting ready to launch. It's not out yet, but yeah, you can find them directly.
Awesome. Well, Clarence, I want to thank you for your time. It's kind of hard scheduling out times, especially being on different coasts. But like I said, everybody being a captivated or a captive audience right now make things a lot easier. But even still, I appreciate your time. And it's always good seeing you, especially since it's rare. So definitely, I appreciate your time. You guys, once again, I want to shout out my sponsors really quick, which is WBGR, Total Entertainment Radio, One Man Sharpens Another, Dance Solutions Youth Outreach, Mission Dance Works, and Nail Vixen from the Nail Fetish Boutique in Baltimore. So you guys, thank you for your time. Clarence, again, thank you for your time. I
Yeah.
appreciate you, and I appreciate all of my listeners.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and definitely stay safe, stay, in the house and comfortable and productive.
Absolutely. You too. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, thanks. Talk to you later.